Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching The Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood. I'm joined by host of the Takeover, Justin Jackson, also a player with the Los Angeles Chargers, Justin Jackson. Justin, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. No tech difficulties at the beginning of this segment. We're good.
Yeah, knock on wood. So
right.
we were just talking about Major League Baseball pulling their All-Star game out of Atlanta in protest of this racist voter law in Georgia, but some other significant things we were talking about in that segment, but also the last time we were on the show about we got to look more locally. And so I wanted to bring up, I went to high school in Evanston, Illinois. You played college football in Evanston, Illinois, and they just passed the first ever reparations bill. And some people are saying it's not perfect or it doesn't have this or that, but I wanted to at least first, I'm just going to read the outline of the bill and then we can talk about it because it's significant. It's significant just that this happened. Evanston, Illinois becomes first U.S. city to pay reparations to Black residents. The Chicago Suburb City Council voted 8-1 to distribute $400,000 to eligible Black households. And they're going to distribute $400,000 to eligible Black households. Each qualifying household would receive $25,000 for home repairs or down payments on property. The program is being funded through donations and revenue from a 3% tax on the sale of recreational marijuana. Well, look at that. The city has pledged to distribute $10 million over 10 years. Qualifying residents must either have lived or been a direct descendant of a Black person who lived in Evanston between 1919 to 1969 and who suffered discrimination in housing because of city ordinances, policies, or practices. So for those of you folks watching who don't know, Evanston, it's the first suburb north of the city of Chicago on Lake Michigan, and it was one of the first cities to allow after the Civil War, rather, when Southerners, both Black and white, but freed slaves could come up there and live and work. But it wasn't this utopia. There was a lot of redlining that had happened in Evanston. And so having, gone to school there, how do you view this bill? I mean, obviously overall it's a big win, but how do you view, what was your first reaction to it?
I was surprised. Like I said last time, I remember I saw like there's a reparations, it was like trending on Twitter or something. And I was like, okay, let me like look into this, like what's going on. And then I saw it was Evanston, Illinois. And that's my first thing. It's like Evanston, like where I went to college. Cause like you said, there's a lot of diversity, especially at Evanston High School, but it's heavily redlined. You can tell, like I'm saying, like literally an underpass where it's like nice, the colonial type of Evanston houses. You go under this underpass on Green Bay Road and all the houses literally on the next street are, you could tell, like much lower value, much lower quality immediately. And that's obviously where the Black and brown people live. And so it's heavily redlined. So, I didn't really know exactly what it like leaned politically or how the politics were in Evanston, because when I was in college, I wasn't paying attention to politics as much. So I just didn't expect something, progressive and on the spectrum of that we exist on in this country. This is a progressive bill. Now, of course, there are people that saying it's not nearly enough. And of course they're right. It's not nearly enough. Like I think in one of the articles it said, well, there's up to $25,000 you can claim. And so there's only 400,000 being distributed. So that's only 16 people. Right. And so that's obviously nothing near like a true reparation for, a Black family, but it's almost like the stimulus check, right? Where people were just happy getting $600. There was people that were just happy with it because they're so used to not getting anything. Right. And so that's how you have to look at these things in the spectrum of our politics. This shows that, yes, like, so when people are talking about reparations, right, when it comes up in a primary or something, and they're like, oh, we need to make a committee, and then that committee needs to make another committee to see what, if it's possible, like et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's bullshit. They had, a type of reparations bill in Evanston already. It exists. It can happen. It needs to go much further, right? So something like that can shift the Overton window. And so I think that's why it's important that bill was passed, because it's almost like BLM, right? Like in 2017, 2018, you wouldn't see nobody, like even liberals talking about BLM in a good fashion, right? But then 2 or 3 years later, the Overton window on that particular issue has shifted so far where you have, white liberals in the suburbs or wherever saying like they support BLM. And so that's what we need to use this bill of like a reparations type bill as, where we say, no, this is possible. Let's bring more people into the fold and let's make it more progressive.
I think that's a great point. And I think it's also not a small thing to look in this bill of like, not only is like, okay, it should be doing a lot more, but it was passed. So let's build.
It was passed, right.
But it was passed. But also I think it's significant that the money to fund it is coming from recreational marijuana. Mm-hmm. Because that is, I don't smoke weed, but I think it absolutely should be legalized. I mean, and for this reason, this of many reasons. And you look to like, and this is what you're talking about. So you can go, well, let's look at Colorado. Now they've had legal recreational marijuana for several years now, and it's helped. They've got more funding for schools and social programs and stuff like that. And somebody locally might say, point out this or that flaw or discrepancy, but overall you go, it's legal. They're taxing it, and they're getting this influx of tax. It's helped Colorado's tourism industry. I mean, so you can sit there and go, well, to the how are we going to pay for it crowd, which is a legitimate, in a local level, that is absolutely true. Local governments don't have a Federal Reserve that can just print money. So
they have to be budget sound, actually.
You got to actually know how this bill will get funded. So you could say, well, look what Evanston did. Recreational marijuana, they put a 3% tax on it. That's what paid for it. So it wasn't passed on to the homeowner or the average person. It's like, so, hey, I don't smoke weed, but I'm glad weed paid for that bill.
Right, exactly.
And because a property tax sticks it to working class people, all of that stuff can like hurt working class folks. So this is really this is significant. And the fact that it made national news, like I was talking to my brother who still lives in Evanston. He's like, wow, NBC was here and all this other stuff. It was a big deal.
And it's like, how can we can use that as like, how can we make it better? Right? How can we need to, this can be a pot of the money that goes towards like a reparations type. It's going towards Black households, etc. We can use this as some type of, prototype almost. Like, here's a first iteration of it. Let's get policy, wonks in there and figure out how can we do more with the marijuana tax, or how can we change it up or whatever. How can we get more or raise more revenue for it? So I think it's very important. I think it could be a first step. It needs to be a first step. And it just goes to show, even if it's just reparations, say you give every single Black person in the country $5,000, $10,000. That's not even anywhere near the amount of money that would be need to pay back for generations and generations and generations of wealth being suppressed and destroyed. Right. But you need to start somewhere. Right. So that's why I think this bill can be significant as some type of, early example of how we can do reparations, just like Germany did after the Holocaust, did a lot of reparations programs. We can do that too. It is possible, and it just happened in Evanston. Let's improve upon that and then make it nationwide.
I think that's awesome. Well, Justin, I know you got to run. Where can people follow you online and watch your show and all that?
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. Sorry about those tech issues.
No worries, dude. I'm the last guy you need to apologize to. I have tech issues on the daily, so it's all good.
Actually, my earphones were working when I heard that you didn't turn on your soundboard. So of course they were working then, and then when you got your stuff working, mine shut off, and I'm like, oh my god. Then the mic's not working, all type of shit. Anyway, thanks for having me on, Graham. Y'all can find me at the Takeover on YouTube. Actually, we'll be streaming at 4:30 today. So after Graham's show, everyone come on by. On Twitter, I'm at J_manprime21, and those are pretty much the two places y'all can find me. So yeah, appreciate it, Graham.
Awesome, dude. Appreciate the work you're doing in terms of within the NFL and your show, The Takeover. So everybody, when I'm done, go check out Justin's show after this. Thanks for coming on, Matt.
All right, appreciate you.
We'll see you. Justin Jackson, everybody. How about that? And isn't it cool to hear like that's such a great point that he made, you know, rather than like, and it's not nitpicking, but rather than like get all like, oh, this bill's not enough, to say, well, it is not enough. It does need to do more. It is only 16 people a year for 10 years, but let's build on it, like to see the positive out of it. And then like, he's absolutely true. You say, well, they passed it in Evanston. They get it in Evanston and they funded it with weed money. So it can be done. Don't tell me it can't be done. They're doing it. And so it's like, yeah, it's just great. It's just great. It's really cool. It's cool to hear that he's like working to get like the NFL players like involved politically. That's great to hear, man. That's why it's so impressive, because, you know, and again, a part of it is because of what happened last summer, that there was a lot of, it wasn't as much change as we wanted, obviously, but there was significant change to where now, you know, Kaepernick, they've apologized to Kaepernick. You can take a knee, and the Overton window, as Justin was saying, is switched to now where, like, if he was trying to organize like this a couple years ago, I don't know, he might have been shut down a lot harder, and maybe other guys in the league would be afraid to talk to him or something. Who knows? But now it's open for him to be like, no, we're gonna, you know, and I'm excited to hear what happens when he reaches out and talks to some players on the Falcons and see what happens, because I'm telling you, if you're not an NFL fan or a football fan, that's totally cool. Let me just explain to you. Football in the South is a huge deal. And if the Falcons said, we're leaving, I mean, the football, and I'm telling you, rednecks would be like, get rid of that bill, man. We need the Falcons back. I'm telling you that would happen. So it's important. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please hit the like button, the subscribe button. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood and rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, where you can support the show. Also, I have a Bitcoin wallet, a Bitcoin Cash wallet, and an Ethereum wallet in the show notes. We're taking cryptocurrency. I have a Coinbase affiliation link. We're going to be getting on some other exchanges. So that's how you support the show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. YouTube is unsubscribing us at an alarming rate. I have a PayPal button at GrahamElwood.com. I even have a Venmo at Graham-Elwood. There's a lot of ways to support our show. We are getting crushed by YouTube. We've dipped under 73,000 subscribers because of YouTube. Thanks for supporting what we do.